anytime I do play it, I build it on him. But now we are officially into draft 1 for game 1 of Anyone's Legend between Weibo Gaming.
All right, Weibo, they had right of first selection. They chose first pick. And so these bans do seem like they are fairly normal. I think that the fact that we're going to have potentially Rise or Talia getting through is a little bit more interesting. Also, a big talk coming out of first stand has been the jungles. I mean, Pantheon, Nocturne, these two champions I think have been super, super impactful. And already we might see AL try to prioritize that with the Rise on top.
Anyone's Legend don't even bother trying to split up the Ashe Seraphine duo proposition that Weibo Gaming have, so they're going to be able to pair it alongside the Xin Zhao. I think Ashe Seraphine with Xin specifically is probably one of the strongest like bot lane jungle trios that you can have in the metagame right now, because it just all makes sense together.
I think Ashe also just has so much extra value in pro play. I think having access to the Hawk Shot, getting information on enemy jungle path, that's going to be something that we'll be tracking, and if Jiejie and Weibo can take advantage of that, especially against someone who is incredibly smart about pathing like Tarzan, this makes this game a lot more interesting. We're going to be heading into the second phase of draft. Now, Rise Pantheon without a side lane to play for is a little worrisome to me. It means that they might be able to stop Flandre for being dove, but I'm expecting a much spicier bot lane matchup for Hope and Kael, or something that's going to at least allow for Tarzan to invade the enemy jungle, play for enemy Raptor respawns, and look for those kinds of plays with Kael. What kind of supports are we going to be getting? Is it going to be an engaged support, or are we going to be leaning towards those ranged enchanters?
Well, right now, Weibo are trying to dissuade any Yunara combinations, at least with the Lulu ban, and make sure that Hope doesn't have a hyper carry performance with probably the best support that can enable that playstyle. The other thing I would look at is if you just want to go for pure lane domination and pure push, Corki Nami is still available unless one of those two champions is taken off.
Playing Corki versus Xin Zhao sounds extremely miserable. I'm kind of like, he hits me with the ultimate, and I'm like, God, I can't do anything. But yeah, definitely available. Bard is interesting because you can punish this lane for Seraphine and Ashe, whether that's in pre-6 or post, trying to just fish out for some summoner spells once you have access to that ultimate, and the laning phase can be really, really oppressive as a ranged Bard. But also saving pick for Hope. This could be a Jinx. I'm not gonna lie, I know there's no enchanter, but you have a ton of frontline here. Rise and Pantheon give you that setup for the getting excited as Jinx, but I think might have a little bit of issues versus something like a Xin Zhao and an Ashe later on. Cassiopeia coming out, we didn't like the last time Xiaohu picked up the Cassiopeia, and I do think it runs into some issues about trying to get damage into a Rise into a Scion later on.
Yeah, there's not many champions that before this 80 carry lock-in, it actually punishes with the Miasma. Hope just ends up playing the Ezreal instead. So if you do end up like catching the Ezreal and you throw the W down, you can stop him from flashing or shifting out. But I don't think Hope should ever be in range for a Xiaohu Cassiopeia to do that in the first place. So, Alk, are you feeling inspired by the last pickup here by Anyone's Legend, or do you feel like we could have just picked this up earlier?
I mean, I believe he could play he could play Ezreal if he really wanted to. I'm sure he's a great jungle. Oh, you're talking about the word, not the player. Okay, yes. Yeah, Ezreal's great. You have frontline. I think with Rise and Pantheon and Scion standing in front of you, Ezreal's going to be great at that. It does mean that I think AL are a bit more of a mid-range centric composition. Poking out their opponents is going to be really powerful, especially because Seraphine has gotten routinely nerfed around her W heal for multiple patches in a row, it feels like. And for Weibo, they don't have a consistent tank outside of Xin Zhao. And once Xin Zhao has his ultimate gone, that might provide too many issues for Weibo to walk in. So I think for Weibo, it's all about, can they pull off the snap? Can Ashe or Seraphine or Xin Zhao walk in as a trio and find an enemy champion? Otherwise, I do like how AL can either reset fights with Pantheon ultimate or chase their opponents with the Rise.
Yeah, and it gives you a lot of tempo plays too. If you like go for an objective play, you peel back off, and then instantly snap back in with the Grand Starfall to just chase something else on the map. Anyone's Legend at their peak, they are one of the smartest teams when it comes to map play, but any team that has Xiaohu on it can also rise to match that title as well. So I want to see what kind of form both of these teams are going to be entering Split 2 in after a long off season. It's time to hit Summoner's Rift, y'all, between Anyone's Legend and Weibo Gaming.
got the +1. He got the +2.
+2. Oh
Let's
my
go.
God. Hope is
And the electrocute. Oh, and the +3. Okay, okay. Now we're just keeping track.
Dude, FF, just chalk up the bot lane at this point. Just go home.
Can we get another one? Can we get another? We should just be talking about the set. Okay, all right. Never mind. Doesn't matter anymore. We are getting red side vision, which I think is interesting. I like that observers are trying to play around with it. That's an early barrier coming in from Hope. But both junglers are starting on the top side. They're going to be pathing down, which means that Flandre just needs to survive until he can get his first recall in, and then this lane's basically even for the most part. And what I will be looking forward to is how our two mid laners are going to play. We've spent a lot of 2025 talking about Xiaohu's individual performance waxing and waning, but I think in this matchup, there is a lot of really cool, intricate things he can do as this Cassiopeia.
Yeah. I'm so curious about the state of the bot lane now that multiple summoner spells have been burned, not just by Hope, but also both of the supports. I think summoner heals were burned on both sides. Just trying to maintain that health disparity, or at least an advantage on one side or the other. I don't imagine both of the junglers are going to take a pit stop on their full clear rotations. Both are going to hit level 4 and then just try to play for crab. But now with the push advantage in Weibo Gaming's side, I think Tarzan is just going to have to accept that I might not have prio for this bot crab and just try and shift over to the top side instead.
You know, it's all about perspective. Yeah, it's like we don't have bot prio. The wave is going to bounce back, but I do have mid prio. And more than likely what's going to happen is Pantheon's going to finish his red buff. He's going to walk top side and look to see if Gnar is going to be under any threat. See if you can see a little bit of pressure there. Wards have been placed in the river here by the Xin Zhao, so Jiejie is just going to say, as soon as I show up on bot scuttle and Pantheon's not seeing Zika, that next wave that's coming in, that needs to be one where you're playing underneath your turret and getting ready for potentially Tarzan to come in a minute's time. Kael is moving away. Both supports immediately fade into river. That should be a sign to AL. Hey, we're probably not playing for this. Oh, did he spot him there with the ward?
Yeah, barely got spotted, unfortunately. But Tarzan just fades into the topside fog. Weibo Gaming should know that he's just going for a crab, and Jiejie does have this one window where he could stop the recall if they overstep their welcome, but anyone's legend just need to be respectful and allow the base to happen.
It's not even just respectful, it's kind of like if you walk up on the wave, you will die. If you walk up on the wave, you're going to miss more than just this 6 minions, so you need to leave now. And that wave, as we saw from the bottom lane, very, very much in favor of Weibo. It's going to stack on their side. For now, it might not turn into an advantage. This could open up a spot where Kael could roam on this Bard after he finishes his recall. But for the time being, it's going to be extra gold, a little bit more experience going over to Elk, which, again, role quest does feel super nice if you can try to maximize that early. And look at Host back, man. Tier plus glowing moat. You're doing nothing in this matchup now.
Nope. LPL also reminding us not only the new Mordekaiser skin is out, but also that Cassiopeia did receive a slight buff on this patch, which is 2607. Not gonna lie, completely missed that we were on the live patch, which that makes me even more excited, but it's also gonna change a lot of my perspectives on what kind of supports to focus on, since a lot of those enchanter supports did get hit on the live patch as well.
I am just gonna try to not to refer to this patch. Just if you know, you know.
Sure.
Yep, you already know. I don't have to even bring it up. But quiet early game. 5 minutes in, we were maybe getting a little bit more hype for some early action here, but I think Weibo have dictated the lane states very, very well, already opening up a small lead here in bottom lane. You're going even in some of these other lanes. Maybe they can bait Hong and Elk, but I mean, the wave's on their side. Jiejie is going to be able to cover. This is just good timing for them, and AL are not really finding any success, which I think especially as Ezreal, once you hit those 2 items, you really need to have a lot of control over especially the mid waves or any kind of standoffs.
Nice by Tarzan, takes the magical journey and sets up first blood for Hope.
I'm kind of mad about the vision toggle there because we couldn't actually see the the portal through the wall. I was like, oh, Tarzan's just here with the Bard, and that turns into a free kill. So I think Elk's also in an interesting spot. Elk is not recalled. We saw Ezreal go to base, pick up the 2 sad items we had mentioned earlier, and Elk is still here sitting with like probably almost 1,200, 1,300 gold at this point.
Yeah, it kind of turns out to be a fake cheater recall, if anything, because Alk never punished him in lane for having all this extra potential stats on him. Tarzan trying to challenge for this crab, however, the rest of the bot lane from Weibo steps on up.
Wow.
He might be able to get out, though, through the magical journey and not having to burn the flash, but it does guarantee Jiejie full secure of this crab.
I am heartbroken for Weibo. Like that is such a close kill there. If he's not completely stunned for the entire duration of that, that could have been a kill on a Tarzan, and you would have gotten the dragon anyway. Fortunately, we're gonna have to just cut our losses and say, look, we'll take the dragon instead, guys. We'll just only have one of the objectives instead of having our cake and eating it too. You can see you were talking about maybe a soft cheater here. It does mean that Elk continues to have priority over this lane. Jiejie's level 6. Tarzan, we are not contesting for this. No way. What?
Looks like he has bot push, and Xiaohu was forced to take a recall. And Jiejie, I don't know what's going on in comms, but if Xiaohu said, brother, I need to take this base, and Jiejie goes, brother, they can challenge me with Comet Spear Q Smite, like, please help me. And he's like, nope, just drop the dragon. Like, okay, well, I just leased this for nothing.
Maybe then the point that I was giving to Elk might actually just be a detriment, because he needs a recall at some point here. And because he's trapped, his bottom lane the enemy bot lane can just move. So Jiejie may be getting punished by the sins of his bottom lane, and Xiaohu did all he could. He got Shanks to use his ghost when he was entering the river the first time. So this is good for AL. They got the first blood. They got the first dragon of the game. Tarzan's completely uninhibited. Yeah, sure, he's down at camp, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day, especially when you are a comp that's going to spike incredibly hard at 2 items. I'm expecting at 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, AL are going to be kind of at a first peak in their draft.
For Weibo Gaming, we talked about before that it's all going to come down to that first snap engage. What target can you hit with that Ash Arrow or the Encore, and then just try and unload with this Death Ball that you have. The problem is that, as we talked about before, hang on. Ooh, no. Watch out for your fridge.
My fridge is okay. I am looking at my cat. She is frozen. 3-second cooldown. Damn. I can't QSS her for some reason. I think there's a bug, but all right. They went for a look. They know Sion just ulted top lane. Other than that, Raafaa, I'm quite perplexed, because I did think that Weibo had a slightly earlier composition, or at least a draft that is going to play a lot better in the early stages. However, some decisions individually have made this a little bit more tenuous, and I think if AL can also grab Grubs, then we are in a very good spot for AL.
Because now you have that extra sieging power, you get easier access into unlocking the rest of the map, and suddenly anyone's legend can try and avoid a lot of those scenarios where Weibo Gaming are much easily able to set up into those snap engages. Tarzan is already beelining towards the top side of the map. Jiejie is here on the bot side. I think the only thing you got to do as Hope and Kael is just, hey, my jungler's on the top side of the map. We just got to play it cool. Shanks, though, might be in trouble.
Shanks? Oh, this is a great bait.
Oh, it's a great bait. Xiaohu forced the flash away immediately. And all Shanks' burn was just a phase rush. So, no real summoner. Hang on, Zika is en route. Can he time out?
No.
In Mega Gnar? No, he can't get there in time, and Flandre's going to cut him off.
Can they continue to fight here? That's another question, because Rise can still Realm Warp over, bring the Bard. Tarzan's going to get Scuttle, and this is just going from bad to worse for Weibo. Now, AL, they win the 2v2 in mid, and it looked suspect, right? Shanks is using his HP bar. Tarzan has to flash for that play to make it work, but now Cassio has no flash. Another Ashe ultimate. Nothing there for Weibo. You stop the Grubs from being fully taken, but still one Grub going over to Tarzan. I think he'll take that. And Jiejie is stuck because he has no real other camps to be able to go for at this moment, and he does not have prio, especially with a Rise with Realm Warp still up.
He wants to be able to play for these Grubs, but the fact that Pantheon is already here, engaging onto Zika first. Zika's now chunked to 50% HP. Jiejie, I feel like Weibo are not necessarily synced up to the best of we've seen them before, because in that playoff form, they were one-man unit. They understood what the single win condition that every one of these 5 individuals wanted to strive for. But back in this first game of Split 2, it seems like everyone's kind of on their own wavelengths, separate from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, something that I had kind of attributed to Weibo's success in Split 1 playoffs was they were playing very hot. They had multiple best of 5s in a row that were playing concurrently or playing almost back-to-back with usually a day's rest. Xiaohu has no flash. I like the attempt from Kael, just a little too shallow in the lane to go for. But now that we've had a long break in between finishing 3rd and coming into this season, they're starting off cold. There's no warm-up games for them to play. There's no long best-of-5 series for them to really kind of get their grip on the patch. So Weibo are starting off back at 1, kind of like everybody else here. Kael's going to try and cancel this recall from Elk. Thank you. Very cheeky. Does mean that Dragon is now going to be in advantage for AL as it approaches in 30 seconds.
Another all-in trade from Zika, just trying to clear the wave and get some decent HP off of Flandre, but he's kind of scaled into the matchup as nicely as possible, can just absorb a lot of that damage. And back to what we were talking about earlier, where Elk had the opportunity to try and get an early advantage onto Hope. That moment is gone now. He already has a Trinity Force online.
Yep. And so, Raafaa, this is where the game gets very interesting, because if everything's even, I prefer AL's composition. We'll see them look for something on bottom lane. Good use of vision here from AL, or denial from Weibo. They're just making a play on Ezreal.
Just the Ash Arrow. Encore hits a couple people, but Jiejie is still caught on the front line. Jiejie is able to flash out over in time, but Flandre is threatening the turret dive, goes in with the unstoppable onslaught, hits Jiejie right behind the tower. Hunk's gonna be next. Tarzan sent it with the Grand Starfall, and everyone from Anyone's Legend is here to party on the bot side of the map.
And multiple things converging again. The vision denial and potentially Xiaohu.
Oh, Cosmic Binding Flash doesn't quite snag the wall, but it still gets the slow enough for Anyone's Legend to lock down the snake, and Elk is forced to flash. He also used Ghost in the play. Just like that, Elk, Anyone's Legend now up nearly 2K.
They get 3 kills for that, and hey, Zika's hitting a top wave. I don't think AL are going to care at this point. They got so many good resources out from that. Not just the kill gold, but also summoner spells. Just too many different flank angles. Really close look on the Hope, but we have no setup. And this is something we attacked it from draft, was just, in terms of being able to get a fight started, Weibo are incredibly limited. And AL, great collapse. Zika had just TP'd up the top side a few moments prior, so Flandre gets to go here unmatched, finish his top lane quest, and then they make a re-engage once they come around this vision. I mean, Xiaohu, you have no way of walking in. Again, no flash on Cassiopeia means that Bard can always punish this. I love that we went for the redirect from Kael to try to get the stun. You went for the flashy play, it didn't end up working out, but AL now are really far ahead, I think, at this point in the game. We wanted to see them use their mid-game power spike, and we haven't even finished those 2 items for Ezreal or Ryze.
They are just getting started here in this game 1. Anyone's Legend. Seemingly back to what we've kind of expected this team to be able to play when they are at their best. Having those 5-man coordinated plays and just understanding the overall win condition for their composition. And the fact that Shanks is now almost 1,500 gold over his lane opponent means that he will always have first say on where they want to move first. The next dragon has been alive for quite a bit of time now, but most of the focus has just been railing in that bot lane advantage, and now there's no question that Weibo can't even walk up to contest. They're gonna try, but I don't think they're gonna get anywhere with it.
You can't do anything about this. Like, I mean, Ryze can even just take us using this play, and if they walk a little too far forward into the river, Ryze ult, boom, we have now 2 to 3 members behind you, and you can't escape. So, second dragon going over to AL. AL are going to feel really good about their position in this game. We have not gotten a true 5-on-5 from any of the teams, but definitely in terms of team fighting, it seems like AL are already coming more prepared and with a little bit of a stronger grasp as to how they want to attack Weibo here in this game 1.
This almost feels like when you come back from maybe like a summer break and going into school, or maybe spring break, and you come into class and you see that one student who did really well towards like the end of the last 2 classes before the spring break, and you come in and they just didn't study at all. They didn't do any of their homework, and they were supposed to do a group project with their friends, and none of them coordinated at all. So then they got together at the last minute. It's like, okay, guys, what do we want to do here? It's like, oh, I like this, and then it's just kind of a hodgepodge. Whereas Anyone's Legend, these are the students that like grinded day in and day out. They were prepared. They were ready to come in and show so far a really solid Game 1 performance.
Well, honestly, I feel more like Weibo. I hate having a massive break, and then it's like, here, you had to do a project, there's an exam that's coming up right after we get out of break. I do not miss that section of schooling, so I'm feeling Weibo pill if we're trying to find our personal things that we are feeling more in line with. Herald does go over to AL, and they did get a majority of the grub. There's a fight top side. We're doing things.
Potential collapse. Tarzan said the Grand Starfall. There's a Tempered Fate as well, but Weibo Gaming kind of avoid a majority of the threats. They park the Rift Herald, and it should get at least one charge. So at least some value there.
Tarzan just got all 3 plates from that, and that was a lot of ultimates. You mentioned 2 of them. There's also a Realm Warp somewhere in the middle of that as well. So a lot of attempts from AL. Didn't end up landing, but that's why you got to keep shooting, okay? You land none of the shots you don't take. It's something like that. I'm terrible with quotes.
True. Unfortunately for Elk, I don't think he's hit a single Ash Arrow this game, but he can still have a chance to hit one of those shots. Weibo Gaming's just gotta be able to find the right target and lay it all together. And the nice thing, at least for Elk this game, is that other than Kael, no one has a built-in cleanse or an item that can cleanse the arrow. But if Kael is ever near any of those targets, it's just gonna be a Mikhail's burn for the effect. We've got 2 minutes and... Yeah, true. 2 minutes and 20 seconds, though, until the next dragon. Anyone's Legend's pretty much chilling. They already took the Rift Herald, so there's no major objectives coming up other than Baron on the other side of the map. I just want to go back to what you were talking about, Dimitri, where you're reiterating that if Weibo Gaming don't find the early game lead with this composition, then Anyone's Legend should just feel very comfortable moving into a lot of these objective setups moving forward.
I'm going to press tab as Ash, and I'm going to say, cool. There is a almost completed Seraph's Embrace for Ryze, so as Ash, I'm not doing any damage. There's an almost completed Muramana for the Ezreal, so I'm never killing him, at least in a 1v1. And who am I supposed to hit in this game? I could try to trail a Scion or a Pantheon, but Pantheon probably kills me, and honestly, so does Scion at this point in the game. So, yeah. Unless we're going to see massive item completions, even with a Phantom Dancer coming on through for Elk, I think it's really difficult for Weibo to opt in for a fight. I get it. You're going to be moving in. This will be sole point if AL can secure this, but I think there's a lot of standing gold on the map right now. So if you can choose our fights really wisely, I think Weibo can swap up this gold lead that AL already have at 1300 and make a really big shift in the game for them.
Does Zika know there's friends around the other side of the wall there? Zika goes into mini, and he's greeted by a 3-man gank party. Anyone's Legend continuing to punish those who push too far on the sidelines.
And you know what's the saddest part here is that AL, they have none of their setup around the dragon, but they know that Weibo are not really in a condition to answer. 40 seconds before this dragon spawns, Flandre's going to start hitting this turret. He's going to stake away this wave, has teleport, doesn't have the ultimate, but at a vis-a-vis, if we're just looking at these champions blindly in their lanes, Gnar Mini is going to do nothing in this team fight coming up. And AL now, they can reset, spend their gold, and still be comfortable for this upcoming fight. We're going to have Flandre teleport him in. He has Zeke's Convergence, for crying out loud. This brother's just going to walk into the lane. He's going to walk into this team fight. And Weibo, unless Cassiopeia can sit there for forever and deal damage, I don't know how Weibo are going to win this.
I mean, they just dumped a decent amount of poke into Flandre's health bar, but it only took a bit of the shield from the Soul Furnace, so I think Weibo Gaming's chances are looking very slim. Shanks and Kael approaching on the right. They turn everything on the Kael. He flashes backwards. That's one target down, flanks to the Encore, but Tarzan sails into the backline, takes out the Seraphine. No more stage for her. Tarzan tries to push away, but Zika turns it around. Mega Gnar into the wall. They've eliminated the Pantheon from the play. away. There's no jungler for a 50-50 smite. Jiejie can secure the Mountain Dragon. Now Shanks is cut off from the rest of the pack. He's forced to flash away. He still has a turret for safety, but Weibo Gaming salvaged a crucial dragon at this timer. As the tier 1 turret does fall in the mid lane, and Flandre barely misses on Elk.
Oh, Elk has the, okay. Elk gets the flash out of Flandre. Look, it's red buff.
Wait.
Xiaohu. Whoa, whoa,
Wait,
whoa. Chase him, chase.
Can they look for a Baron? They might be able to look for a Baron. It depends.
Slow roast.
Hope is taking a lot of damage on the Jiejie. It might not be a Baron angle after this, but Hope definitely does not live through this, right? Tarzan doesn't have Grand Starfall. He cannot join the fray anytime soon. Realm Warp also not available. No TP either. So Hope finally dies, and Flandre is getting completely juiced here. Shanks arrives to the party. He Realm Warps in. Can he back them up, or at least just ensure that Flandre gets out alive? He's trying to look for more kills. Kael with the streak. Cosmic Binding finds Hong over the wall, and anyone's legend will at least find some kills back for their own.
If I have to say this is good for Weibo, I have to think like, cool, we got the dragon, we got some of these kills, we even got some summoner spells. Shanks, Flandre, Hope, no flash. That's great. I think that's a really good find for them to look for. Even Zika picking up this bottom lane turret doesn't mean he's going to be more relevant. We came into this fight, and look, egg on my face, I was saying, hey, how does Weibo really win this next one? I wanted to see them trade on side lanes. Instead, they make an engagement on the Kael, and once this fight is a little bit more split, I love that Xiaohu on the side here is screening Shanks away from this, and a great re-engage from Zika opens up 2 kills for them to start. But then, the chase afterwards is where it got a little bit iffy for me. We're going way far for this Ezreal. It gives enough time for AL to reconstitute their members out on the map. And now, AL are right back at where we were right before this dragon. 1,300 gold lead, going even further now with this top tier 1. And Weibo, you may have stalled out the Dragon Soul, but I think the gold that you are losing or that you are behind in is going to make it so difficult for you to contest going further.
Yeah, I think the only major benefit from all that chaos. Wait a minute. Okay, well, Grand Starfall right on top of Zika. The chain CC is so damn long, the poor boy can't even megamorph, and that guy is sent back to the fountain. Rest of anyone's legend gonna continue this siege on the bot tier 2, and Tarzan is screening to make sure that no one can enter through this jungle entrance.
Rafa, do you know how infuriating it is, by the way, to play against Sion and the jungler is playing through my lane? Like, how is this possible? We're ganking for a Sion lane on repeat, and it's working out for AL. They're opening up massive goal leads, playing on 2 lanes, and look, Tarzan doesn't have ult anymore because they went for that play on Zika, but Shanks still has Realm Warp. They can do it again, and we're 2 minutes before Dragon. That means that this creates pockets of vision, creates pockets in time for AL to walk around, set up their waves, do whatever they really need to do to make sure the map is in a much better state for them going into this objective.
Yeah. A lot of people undervalue getting a tank accelerated in a matchup, but when he gets all of his beefy durability items into like a carry lane like Gnar, it sucks trying to play against the tank because you can never move him again out of the lane, and they bring all the CC for setup. Meanwhile, Kael looking for Hong. Early in the Kaels just to cleanse any incoming Cosmic Binding if it connected on the wall there. So everyone for Weibo just backs off for now. They want to play for this red buff potentially. Flandre has to be the first one to step up. They can't get there in time. Jiejie smites it. And we got a dragon coming in the next minute and 14 seconds here. So anyone's legend just gonna back off for now and let the map reset itself here.
Rafa, this is a very, very tenuous spot here because if anyone's legend mess up this next dragon, I do think that Weibo are gonna start to feel very difficult to deal with. You already have what is a 2.5 item Cassiopeia. She's gonna pick up this next wave, and the one after that is gonna have teleport coming up in 5 seconds here. Doesn't have flash for this next objective, which might make it a little bit more risky, but she gets a Leandri's. Suddenly 3 item Cassiopeia, level 16 as well, is an issue, right? And Ash finishing a LDR soon, or whatever this is going to be, right? Lord Dominic's. You are gonna be in a very good spot, I think. So this is the part of the game where all of those power points for AL are starting to kind of wane. And we're going to start to see Weibo start to come into that seat of power. We'll say that Shanks and Hope on 3 is very, very potent here. I'm looking to actualize her for this rise.
I'm also curious to see how Weibo Gaming and anyone's legend pick the fights in respective to the
Zika has
positioning.
Omega?
Oh, he just timed out. This is unfortunate. They find an arrow on the hope, but it's immediately cleansed by the Kaels. Jiejie tries to go in front line for it all. Temper Fate is about to allow them to reset this fight. Grand Starfall over the top, adds the damage. Xiaohu finds a nice petrifying gaze, but no one can follow up on it because they either died or they're running for their lives. Anyone's Legend gonna take another dragon for free.
I mean, if we're Weibo and my Mega Gnar is about to run out, we're not fighting. Just classic miscoordination coming in from Weibo, and a great fight here for AL. I loved the ultimate coming in from Kael, sets up Flandre for that massive knockup, and at that point, yeah, the game's just over, right? Look where all my damage dealers are right now. Hong tries to do the fun, like, repositioning tech with Seraphine ultimate, already is too late. Xiaohu, not able to get in this fight, gets tagged at the very edge of a Tempered Fate. Look at this. Double stun from Kael. Knock-up coming in from Flandre. Tarzan right in the back line, and we are now on Baron. A massive steal for Weibo necessary.
And another Mega Gnar times out at the wrong time. Tarzan flashes over the wall. They just want to kill Jiejie to make sure that there is no 50-50 smite happening again. Weibo are now in complete discombobulation. Xiaohu tries to flash backward and look for a way to turn this fight around, but he's in the middle of all five. No way you can survive that one. Anyone's Legend making it look clinical. Oh, how I've missed you, beautiful pandas.
Oh yeah, they are playing their team fights incredibly. I think the setup are sound. And Tarzan on this Pantheon, it was his most played throughout the year so far, and we are seeing his mastery of the champion really start to flourish. Baron here for AL, 3 grubs. I mean, you are very, very excited about the prospects of an AL win here, at least for this first game. And look, the side lane is unmatched at this point. Shanks has consistently held his lead, not even died this game. Rather impressive for a player that had a little bit of a fall off at the end of last split, but has generally been an okay player for this lineup.
Yeah. At his best, alongside Anyone's Legend, he was able to do some incredible things, especially at MSI in 2025, which goes to show when we were looking at how Anyone's Legend were going to come into split 1. I mean, you noted it, a little bit of a vacancy from his usual performances. Meanwhile, Anyone's Legend are going to look for another pick on the side lane. Takes a little bit longer to kill Jiejie thanks to a nice petrifying gaze from Xiaohu, but Flandre is flanking behind them, and the Realm Warp will cut off their retreat path as well. Not even being in between 2 turrets is safe for Weibo Gaming at this point. 28 minutes with a 9,000 gold advantage. Anyone's Legend might just try to end the game right here, right now.
Let's just take this one here. I mean, yeah, just good composition in terms of what they wanted to do. We were a little bit worried about the early game, but especially for Weibo, there's a lot of mistakes around setup. Should just be Zika going down. Yeah, this is going to be an R game we want to forget coming in for Weibo Gaming.
Anyone's Legend had one hiccup, and they never looked back since. Anyone's Legend will take the first game of this series.
Looking good, looking like the AL that we wanted to see throughout the season, and you know, this is my fault. I'm going to just take credit for this loss, Weibo. Xiaohu and the gang, nothing that you guys did was influencing on whether or not you would have won this. I predicted you guys to win this series for a myriad of factors. You know, I was expecting maybe weighing in on some last-minute Weibo cope. I wanted to feel the exhilaration of watching my team get completely bodied, and yeah, that's just my bad. I expected them to do well, which means they're going to now disappoint me, which is just the most Weibo thing we can do.
Never doubted. I didn't have an official prediction made going into this series. I know that just based off of precedent from playoffs, Weibo had an insane victory over them. I would have taken the gamble on Anyone's Legend just because I tend to give a team like Anyone's Legend, who was favored in the prior split, then get upset, to come back mad, to come back angry and much more revitalized than a team like Weibo, who performed higher than maybe the expectations were setting them up to be.
Also, I'm drafting up something right now for Twitter, but
sure.
Are we done? Can we please be done with Cassiopeia as an answer to Rise? Please. I'm done seeing this. Like, to me, this feels like the mid lane equivalent to like the Kai'Sa Ezreal matchup. Like for a long time, people were like, Kai'Sa can just dive onto Ezreal and keep him under bay. But with Ezreal's new items, and I think even last season we saw Ezreal into Kai'Sa, yes, can win if we get a long extend, even get multiple plasma procs off, but Ezreal's really, really broken. And especially with some of his new builds, I think that is only more exacerbated. I mean, just...
Sure.
The numbers even back it up. I'm looking at all top regions across this year alone. Cassiopeia, 20 games versus Rise, 40% win rate.
But is that worse than the Jhin win rate globally right now? That's the real question.
No, but that's because Jhin is terrible. Yeah.
True. Jhin is a terrible champion. Guys, don't pick it right now.
Please stop picking this champion.
Sorry, Mizell. Your favorite champion is a little pee-pee poo-poo at the moment.
It's a low bob. It's a low bob.
The meta changes or Riot just decides to slap like an insane stat buff in his numbers. But going through the post-game graph and stats, once again, I think you touched on it towards the end of the game. Shanks had a relatively impressive Rise game, even in the one hiccup where Weibo were able to find the one snap engage, multiple Ash Arrow into Encore layered up onto Kael of all targets. And I think in that one instance, we didn't get to do a more in-depth conversation about it, Alk, but I want to give this opportunity to have it now where in that position, if we rewind the clock and Weibo doesn't overchase for Hope, can they just repeat that objective setup where if they find anyone's legend split on entrance angles like that and just take those fights? Or was it just, wow, we just got lucky that we found Kael in the first place?
I think the idea was really sound, right? Like the setup, like you were kind of mentioning, is there. There's good reasoning behind it, I think is the more important thing for me when I look at pro teams. But the actual play of it, I think you were right, is that it's just, the play is off. Everyone likes to go for +1s. You and I know this the most. When we're doing stuff, it's like, okay, we did one play, maybe we can like really squeeze for even more. And if we kill Ezreal there early, maybe it's really good. And like you were kind of threatening, like, oh, maybe we just go Baron, right? Like Cassiopeia, Ashe, like that. Those are on the cards. We could do it. But we spent way too much time. Hope delays them for so long. We can have this replay right in front of us here. Yeah, again, the reasoning is good. I want to see more of that from Weibo, but unfortunately, we can't have one good decision in a 25-30 minute game.
True.
You will never win. You will almost never win a series with that kind of hit rate.
I think the only time you can have like one good decision completely revert all the wrongs you've had in the game is when it comes to an Elder flip.
Yeah.
And you know, that's pushing
or a base race. You know, like we're just base racing.
Race.
Sure. Jiejie doesn't even have flash in this fight, by the way.
I mean, I think anyone's legend, my favorite thing about just their decisive plays that they made this game were when they go for objective setups, they immediately turn off as soon as they spot the target they want to kill first. The one target that could like make their objective play instantly like, oh, this is turbo bad. And that doesn't not necessarily always mean Jiejie. Obviously, Jiejie needed to die so that there's no 50-50. But there is another play where they're pulling Dragon, and then as soon as Zika starts walking up and he goes to mini form, they're like, get this guy out of here!
He can't do that.
This guy!
Yeah. That is the correct response when a mini-Gnar walks into a 4v4 or 5v5. Kill that guy. You know, like it's the Brad Pitt when he's in the tank. He's like, kill that guy right there. That guy's not allowed to walk in here, okay? Get him out. We'll send him back into the Shadow Realm, and we'll go ahead and give ourselves a 1-0 lead here in this series. Yeah. Not gonna lie though, Raafaa. I got stun locked. I'm looking at this guy's Huya account, and I saw the number again. It is popping up all around my life.
What Huya account?
Exactly. Perfect. Kael, MVP. Interesting. I probably would have given it to Shanks, but 3 awards per minute? We are scraping the barrel for some stats. Good stuff.
You know, I was actually looking up what is like a good vision score or good wards per minute stat when I was like thinking of things to hype up support head-to-head matchup. And I saw
15, man.
My bad. Cloud9 special right there. Well, the LPL broadcast went with Kael as your player of the game for game 1, which means it's time for me and Alk to retire for a brief moment in time. But when we come back, it's going to be game 2 between Anyone's Legend and Weibo Gaming.